MSc in psychology, and right now he's pursuing his clinical psychology in from like MSc in psychology and MPhil clinical psychology. So it's an honor to host him, and because it's going to be wonderful discussion, and this is the very much important time for us to discuss what in the mental state we are in. So it's very important to discuss all these things. So George, thank you very much for being a guest and uh, accepting my request to come. So I won't
Yeah.
waste much time, and I'll come to the subject because we have less time to we need to cover a lot of things. So first of all, George, I would like to know that what is like being a psychologist, what it is like studying and practicing, because see, psychology has not been accepted in the society very well. So what do you feel?
Mm. Yeah, first of all, very good evening to everyone, and thank you so much, Faizan, for this opportunity. I mean, I've been following your work, and it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. Well, considering psychology, it is well, there is a mixed feeling there. So, what, like how you said that it is it is difficult, in particularly in our setup right now, to have acceptance. So personally speaking, I have done um, studying and at the same time practicing psychology in different places. And what I can say is the negatives of it are mainly got to do with the challenge part of it. So it's like you have a very challenging field, you have a very vast field. There is no end to it because it covers every single thing there is in the world, in the human life. It covers every single thing, whether it is science, whether it is art, whether it is your relationships, whether it is your family. It covers every single thing. So that is one thing, that it's very challenging, it is very vast, so you need to be prepared for that kind of thing. At the same time, conveying that to the people, I mean, that is another challenge in itself, to convey the Indian people that okay, there is some kind of treatment there, some kind of cure there, because we believe mostly in the faith based kind of an approach to treating any kind of mental disturbance. So yeah, but at the same time, the plus side of it is that it is very rewarding. Seeing clients, and at the same time you're going back home, and then you're thinking about it, you're finding out okay what you can do about it, or how best you can manage the case. And then you see changes happening in this person who comes to you has been through a lot of different treatment stages. So in India, usually we begin with going to faith healers. That's the first thing. Regardless of what religion the patient follows, the patient primarily prefers going to a faith healer. तो या तो वो बाबा के पास में जाएंगे, भगत के पास में जाएंगे, या फिर some any of the religious leaders, or they will seek some kind of treatment in the ancient ways, or in herbs, or which work fine. But at the same time, there are some kind of treatments which involve magic and all those kind of things,
Yeah.
and it works for some time, then they fail, the family experiences problems, and then they have to come back. So this person who's coming to you is coming to you as a last resort. I mean, that's one thing we have to always remember,
Okay.
कि इंडिया में साइकोलॉजी में लास्ट रिसॉर्ट पे आते हैं, तो when you see that change happening, finally जो relief मिलता है patient को कि okay fine, now there's something that's good that's happening, some relief, some treatment that's happening, that is very rewarding, and the patient keeps coming back to you. And that is one, the whole, you can see the plus and the minus, they just they work very beautifully in our field. So it's really, you can say it's a pleasure. At the same time, it's very rewarding, at the same time very challenging to be a psychologist in India right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. So as you are pursuing your MPhil in clinical psychology, right?
Yeah.
So what are the different career options or streams in psychology? Because as before we discussed that there is no acceptance in the society or awareness about the psychology. So if viewers get to know general idea, okay, what this all about, this field is all about.
Yeah. So well, we can divide psychology into two parts. One is the psychology, and the other is applied psychology. So in psychology part, we just deal with basically the components of mental life. So any mental life has components like memory, we have motivation, we have emotion, we have relationships का जो भी dynamics होते हैं, the various theories of personality. So that is got to do with the components of what make up a mental and behavioral life. The second part of it is how you apply that particular knowledge in the benefit of society or the benefit of treatment or maybe prisoners or so that becomes the applied part of it. In applied part of it, you have different branches. So you have counseling psychology, you have neuropsychology, you have forensic psychology, you have geriatric psychology, you have clinical psychology. So there are different branches there, and just basically, I'll just give a few lines on each of them. So counseling basically deals with more regular problems, like you have marital problems, or at the very surface level, which are not very serious, which can be resolved. So counseling deals with that. It's a very vast field in itself. You have forensic psychology, which is basically using psychology in legal matters, helping using your psychology knowledge for legal cases and in legal problems, and at the same time rehabilitation and interrogation and of the patient of the prisoners and the criminal cases. Then you have geriatric psychology deals with the old age people. Um, you have clinical psychology. So clinical psychology is another vast field which deals with basically uh, cases which are a little bit more severe. So you are doing therapies with them, you're doing assessments with them, you're doing diagnosis with them. So clinical psychology deals with more severe problems that affect the person, like depression, you have anxiety, OCD, you have psychosis, you have eating disorders. Psychology deals with the most serious aspects of psychology. So anyone who wants to pursue career in any of them needs to understand where they match, because psychology in itself is vast. I mean, there are so many branches of psychology now that it's very vast, and it completely depends on where your matching lies. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we got to know about psychology. We were all completely naive about it. So, like, let's come to your core subject. Like, mental conditions or mental illness are considered stigma
Hmm.
in India. So, because everywhere, like, थोड़ा भी होता है,
Yes.
जैसे हम लोग का judgmental है क्या, mental है क्या, kind of things. So, like, can you tell us more about this stigma? Like, why it is? Because it's like a other illness. Like, flu है तो उसका illness है. Or can you just tell us, like, if you can change your perception or give us more information about it?
Yeah. So I mean, that's a very unfortunate part, that it is a stigma. That is a very unfortunate part. It's a part of your social psychology in itself, and the stigma is very pervasive. So it is present in each and every one of us. Okay, fine, let's not generalize. So it's present in most of us, to that level that you can have a very intelligent person, a person you respect, a person you want to listen to, who's probably even an activist, and you'll notice that even they have that stigma in them. If you look at speeches, if you see movies, no matter how good the movie might be, they still use words like pagal, crazy, and all the regional local words they use for Gujarati has its own Gujarati has its own word for it. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's very pervasive. I mean, this is something that needs a very great attention from people, because uh, once we have acknowledgement that there is stigma, once people understand कि, okay, the way they talk, even I do that, and we are continuously working on that, to understand how, in what way we relate to other people in ways that are normal and abnormal. So if somebody according to us is not normal, we automatically deduce that the person is, pagal, or has some kind of a mental illness, or is an outcast, or some kind of that kind of a thing. That is something that's very unfortunate. At the same time, it's a responsibility of those in power. It's a responsibility of those who are practicing, those who are studying in universities. It's those who are teaching. It's. I think that's the preliminary thing we need to do in any kind of course. We need to introduce psychology. We need to introduce basic एक जो रहता है basic education about mental illnesses. We have, when we study biology, we do study about digestive problems. We study about viruses. We study about so many different pathological conditions, but we very rarely talk about psychology. No matter what board you might be in, you might be in ICS, you might be in CBSE. Very unless you are doing the particular course, unless you're doing psychology course, you will not have that kind of education there. So I guess it's very important that in all the spheres of life we have, some kind of input in the minds of children, in the minds of students, that where we can show them, okay, fine, mental illness hai and ये चीजें होती हैं उसके अंदर, या फिर ये चीजें हैं, and it's as similar as studying common cold, or as common as studying HIV, or as common as studying diabetes, blood pressure, which is so common in our country. So maybe that is one thing that can really help with the stigma, and awareness programs need to be there. Very strong, very forceful awareness programs need to be there, normalizing this particular aspect of human life. It's very important, yeah.
Okay, okay, good answer. So definitely, it should be that. So, like, suppose as you have described very well. So, can we know if someone is suffering from mental illness? Are there signs like because हमको पता चले कि yeah, this person is suffering and we can definitely help him out or we can do something for it?
Okay, so firstly, this is just, I'm just going to use one way, this one model to explain how we can understand mental illness, because mental illness is a little bit different from the other, slightly different from the other illnesses, in the way that it is it, it 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 refers to the character of the person. Basically, it refers to the whole personality of the person, not character, personality of the person. So if someone has, for example, depression, it will reflect in his entire persona, if you want to call it a complete personality. If someone has, for example, psychosis, if someone has OCD, so it kind of colors the entire person's life. So the way the person will be able to relate with other people, the way the person will be able to do work, function in work. So all of that thing, a mental illness, kind of, it's like a disease that kind of spreads to the entire mental life of a patient, of a person. So in that way, we can say that mental illness is like a continuum. It's like a
Okay,
string.
okay,
So, and each of us are on the string. Okay, each of us are on a string. And the only difference is between people who are considered normal and people who have mental illnesses is that it's a matter of degree. To what degree you have that particular disturbance in your life. So if you have maybe a lot of disturbance, so you might be classified as having some kind of mental illness. If you have a normal limit of fluctuations in your whatever symptoms you're showing, that's completely normal. I mean, we are all human beings, we all go through a lot of complex emotions, a lot of complex life situations. So that is one way of understanding mental illness. Now, whether we can know someone has mental illness or not, that's a difficult thing, because more often than not, we are not equipped enough to understand the signs of mental illness. More often than not, we might think, okay, fine, like, okay, somebody is going through some relationship problem, or somebody is going through marriage problem, and we might assume that, okay, fine, since this person is having so and so, there could be a possibility.
okay,
There's always assumptions. The only thing that we can do in such situations is that we can be mindful of those around us. We can look for slight changes. There are always slight changes in a person's behavior, always slight changes which we can notice. Okay, fine, pehle ye insaan to used to talk in this way to me, but now since the past so many days or so many weeks, this person is not maybe relating to me in that way. So those are the signs that we can look for. And more often than not, we can't really find any signs. I mean, the person would be, suffering or going through something which the person himself cannot understand, cannot deal with. And that's the complexity of the whole problem, the disorder. And correct help at that time is the best thing we can do. But at the same time, being mindful, being aware that okay, something around me, in my friends, in my family, in my parents, something has changed, or something is not different, or something is bothering. Then yes, we can talk to the person. We can, very gently, without advising, we can ask the person what's happening, and that is one way we can bring correct, or correct facilities to the patient or to the person. So that is one thing we can do. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it means that we have to observe a lot. That is very important. I'm talking about common person,
Observe
common people.
others and observe ourselves.
Okay, okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. Great. So, what are your suggestions to the viewers? Because we all are in lockdown since last
Hmm.
1 month,
Yeah.
and we all are somewhere disturbed. You can say that. So, to stay
Yes,
mentally
yes.
fit or mentally healthy, what's your suggestions? Because this is a very tough time we are going through.
Yeah. So
So,
actually,
any suggestions yours?
yes, I'm going to be very bold in saying this, but uh, the only thing I can say is that I cannot give any suggestions. I
Oh,
cannot,
oh,
I cannot give anything. I would rather say that you don't have to do anything. In fact, that is one thing I
okay,
would like to say, because there's so much pressure nowadays. There is so much pressure. I mean, if there has to be, like, people are saying you need to do something, you need to do so and so, you need to spend your time in hobby, or you need to do, some exercise, or you need to do n number of things, like if you go to Facebook, and you'll be bombarded with these messages ki, oh, you are spending your time, okay, don't complain, you're lazy, and you have a lot of time now, you're just lazy. And
yeah, yeah,
so it's a bombardment that is happening. And in families also at the same time. First of all, in most of the situations in our education system, we don't prioritize hobbies at home. We don't prioritize. So it's mainly about how uh, the kid or the child is doing in school. So जब वो घर पे आता है तो उसको सिर्फ homework करना होता है. But now the situation is that the son or the daughter is having a very prolonged holiday, and parents ने कभी उस पर ध्यान ही नहीं दिया कि how to make the child spend time, without homework, or without a subject matter homework.
yeah.
So now there's a constant pressure from every side that if you don't use this time to do something or develop a new skill, then you're a horrible or lazy person.
Okay,
And that is not something that I would say, just do whatever you want to do. I mean, if you have a problem, if you're experiencing some kind of problem, then you approach, there are facilities there. But otherwise, just do what you want to do, spend time, make decisions for yourself, rest if you want to, exercise if you want to, set goals if you want to. Each person is different. uh, People are doing introvert extrovert thing nowadays. I mean, that is also a very damaging thing that can be done. So I would just say ki, I would give no suggestions whatsoever in this matter.
okay, okay, okay. So
No
whatever
pressure.
person wants to do, they can do, but try to. But there are people, they say read books, like they have suggestions. So like positives, they things they can do, like exercising, reading, whatever they want to do. But they try to avoid
Hmm.
like kind of conversation. You won't mean to say whatever you want to do, you do. It means like that, right?
Yeah, make decisions for yourself. Yes, like,
Okay.
do whatever you want to do, what you feel right. If you just want to lie on the bed all day and that's fine with you, and people around you don't have a problem with that, go ahead. Why to pressurize yourself for anything? I mean, we're all going through a very difficult time. It's not a vacation that you have a set rule of things that okay, you need to do,
Mhm.
so and so things. You need to check so and so things. But it's not a vacation. It's a very difficult time for all of us. It's a very novel situation. So deal with it the way you're most comfortable, most equipped with according to your personality. Everyone is different. I mean, we cannot really generalize in that way.
True. So suppose like if
Yeah.
someone is feeling that he is mentally distressed or
Hmm.
somewhere he is disturbed, so how he or she can reach to a mental health expert, like professional, you can say that. What's the way?
Yes.
What are the ways?
Yes, so now, since we have left the people to do what they want to do, now there are some situations where people are actually feeling distress. They are feeling anxious. They're feeling, an existential dread. Okay, now they have meaninglessness in life. कि, okay, I spend so much of my time on this particular business. I spend so much of my time on this particular hobby. A particular course or a particular endeavor, and all of it means, I mean, a virus can come and just put a halt to all of it. So people are feeling a lot of distress. In that case, to look up your local universities, a lot of in Baroda, I think MSU has started their own. The counseling students have started their own helpline, and in there's Indian Association of Clinical Psychologists. They have their own helpline. It's Paramash. So I just have the number. I'll just say it out, but I would advise whoever's watching and needs help to just go on their website. It's IACP. So Indian Association of Clinical Psychologists .in. So over there they have given a number. I'll just say the number so you can note it down. It's 8047192224. Now, I would advise that you go to the website and check out in case they change the number. So that would be a good thing. And that is one very good way to approach someone. They're doing pro bono services. So that's one very good way to approach
Thank you.
these uh, via these helplines. That would be it because the OPDs nowadays are mostly not working. When it comes to mental health services, they are not working in that way. So we have started our own local helplines or local. We have given our numbers to our associations, and people are calling us for any kind of distress they might be feeling now. Yeah, so that's how they can reach.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much for sharing this detail because many times people don't open up, but definitely go through that website, or you can say,
Yes, yes.
yeah, they can go and do it. So if I talk about our societies, like Indian societies, acceptance of psychological treatment, is it accepting or is it more Western in nature?
Okay, so I'll give you one example. Uh, like when we were young psychology students. So I was in Ahmedabad that time, and we were we had a first day in a mental health hospital in Ahmedabad, in Shahibag, and we were like, okay, fine, let's see कि यहाँ पे कौन आता होगा. We were like, we were also in that state of very new people. We were not very hopeful about the field, and we were there and we were like, यहाँ पे कौन आता होगा, patients तो hospital खाली होता होगा. So all of us we went. We were 15 of us. Okay, we went inside the OPD, and I literally stood there with my jaws dropped because I saw a lot of patients there, and most of them, it seemed like as if it was a general hospital ka OPD. Like if you go to a general hospital's OPD, you see there's just like ants, there are people everywhere. And that was the situation over there. I went to Indore. I've been there for 3 months. The same situation over there. It's as crowded as their big hospitals. And now I'm in Agra over here, and it's as crowded as the big hospitals. So that that notion that it's probably not accepting, and in India that is actually it's a very narrow kind of a notion because general public do think that way. Faizan, they do think that way, that they are not going to be accepting, but that is not the case. It is very prevalent, and considering psychological treatment, particularly psychological treatment. So you have psychotherapy, you have assessments, you have long-term psychotherapies, you have short-term psychotherapies.
Okay,
Even among departments which are not complete in India, mental health departments which are not complete, there is a possibility that you might think, okay, they might believe that it might not work in India, but the thing is, it does work. And we have a lot of patients who come for psychotherapy, a lot of them. I mean, I myself sometimes wonder कि okay, like stigma क्या है, और actual में on the ground level there is actual need of psychologists and psychiatrists and all the other mental health professionals. So it is on the society level there is this thing कि okay, psychology and पागल tribe, or they say कि psychotherapy में क्या they have very weird notions about psychotherapy. So it's not the case in reality. In reality, if you ever visit a mental health facility, it's like a normal hospital. It's like a usual hospital, and you'll find psychotherapy happening on a regular basis. You'll find assessments happening on a regular basis. Patients keep coming to you. It's not like कि patients भी सोच रहे हैं कि काम नहीं कर रहा है. वापस आ रहे हैं मतलब काम कर रहा है. Okay, it's working. It's helping them in some way, and there's no shortage of patients, there's no shortage of clients, and I'm not talking about big cities, I'm talking about tier 2 cities, I'm talking about small cities. It's happening. So it's that notion needs to go now, that whether it's Western or Indian, it's happening, it's working, and it's doing amazing work in India as well. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. We were not aware. We had completely different perception. You can say that all psychology is all about Western confirmation that in India also it has been accepted very well and it's working very well. So
Yes, 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 it is.
I have read somewhere that psychology is everywhere. Like in management, I have done my MBA. We have been told that is marketing is all about psychology. So, any suggestion,
Hmm.
any book you would recommend to us for the non-psychological people, non-psychological people? Because it's very important to understand the basic concepts of psychology. And I would like to personally to get to know, because after having this discussion with you, really I am curious to know about psychology a lot.
Yeah.
So
So
can you name one book? Suggest one book. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is any book that is talking about social psychology. So it can be, I will name one book. It's a textbook. So it's a social psychology textbook. Most of the students who are doing, who have done, you had a lot of other guests who had done BA in psychology who wanted to be psychologists. So I'm sure they would have come across social psychology ka Baron ka social psychology wala book. It's a textbook which is very nice. It's very interesting. I mean, that's one good thing about psychology textbooks. You can pick anyone and you can just read it like a storybook because it's written in such amazing language. It's very easy, and especially marketing. You said about marketing and whatever kind of business you're running. And not even MBA. I mean, even if you're running a very small business, if you're just curious about psychology as a field, and you don't want to start with general psychology like memory or emotion and all of that, and you just want to get interested, any social psychology textbook will do the work. So, and the important thing is that you need to apply that in your real life. You need to apply those concepts. You need to see, okay, fine, ye likha hai, and how does it apply to people, or it's pervasive. Social psychology is everywhere. It's in our religion, it's in our politics, it's in our relationships, it's in our family, it's in our home, it's in our workplaces. So that is one thing I would recommend: Social Psychology by Barron. And if you can get, there's this one book. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow. I don't have it with me in the physical,
Okay. Yeah.
this one, the hard
I
copy.
have read. I have read that book. Yeah. David
Thinking Fast and Slow.
Kellerman has written. It's an amazing book.
It's
Yeah.
an
Yeah. It's
amazing
an
book. I mean, it's
amazing
like,
book. Really an amazing.
yes. So that is one book. So that is one book that So both of us can recommend that book. Then Faizan and I can recommend that book. So Thinking Fast and Slow is a go-to book. I mean, you just take your time, relish the book. It's brilliant. Apply each of those sentences, whatever they've written, apply them in the country scenario, in the world scenario, in your home scenario, in your workplace scenario, and you'll understand, okay, fine, how we are as human beings. So yeah, those are the two things I would recommend.
We have a lot to discuss, but I understand, George, you have classes,
Yeah,
you are doing your MPhil and you are
yeah,
occupied. So thank you very much for connecting with us. And it was an honor to have you with us. It was really wonderful
yeah,
discussion. We got to know about psychology, and definitely we wish you very wonderful. You can say that vibrant career ahead in psychology because you are passionate about psychology. So thank you,
yeah,
George, being
yeah,
with us.
yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Faizan. Thank you so much.